Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first information session for Oxfam Trailwalker 2024. My name is Sam. I'm the fundraising and events coordinator here at Oxfam Aotearoa, and I'm really excited to be sharing some really valuable advice with you in this video. In this session, we are going to be covering everything you need to know about training for Trailwalker. It's a really incredible challenge that you've stepped up to, and in order to cross that finish line with a hopefully smiling face, training is going to be really essential. So today we have some awesome guest speakers joining us for this session. So I'd like to introduce you to ultramarathon runner, coach and fitness guru, Coach Maree from Go Run Girls. Maree Maree has an abundance of knowledge on endurance events and has even completed 2 trail walkers herself. So we're really excited to have Maree joining us today. And secondly, you'll be hearing from Leon from Bivouac Outdoor. Bivouac is a long-standing partner of Oxfam Trailwalker, and we are really appreciative to have him here to talk over some key gear recommendations. For now, though, you get to hear a little bit more of my voice. So yeah, you've signed on the dotted line and you're starting to wonder what exactly it is that you've got yourself into. Well, first and foremost, Taranaki is a beautiful destination. With an abundance of nature and a remarkable history, it's exploding with culture, arts, hospitality, and I have to say, some of the food in New Plymouth is the best I've had. So there really is something there for everyone, and we're so excited to be hosting you in the Taranaki region next year. Right, a physical challenge, whether it's to get fitter, to push yourself out of your comfort zone, or just to prove to yourself that you can do something like this, Oxfam Trailwalker is really going to push you to your limits, but it's an incredibly rewarding experience. So we're really excited to have you join us. You are going to bond with your friends and colleagues or your family. Look forward to getting more active and making memories with those that you're closest with. Past participants have told us that taking part in Trailwalker is a memory that they always look back on fondly, and they really cherish it for years to come. So, yeah. Finally, you're doing your bit to help make the world a better place. The challenges faced around the globe in the last few years have been quite unprecedented, and we need people like you now more than ever. So, when you participate in Trailwalker, you're not only challenging yourself, but you're also challenging the root causes of injustice that keep people trapped in poverty. We really can't thank you enough for stepping up to the challenge and for trying to make the world a better place. Right, let's get started in making a plan. In your first team meeting, discuss your training approach. This is to figure out how you're going to get exactly to that target time. Your training plan should include both how you're going to approach the training as a team, but also what steps you're going to take as an individual to get you there as well. You're not always going to be able to train together, so making sure you're sticking to your individual training goals as well is really important. Check when people are available for trainings and schedule those in. I know for me, if it's not written in my calendar, it's generally not going to happen. So scheduling your sessions in a shared calendar or however you see fit is really important. It's all about making that commitment to yourself and your team. Communication, talk and talk some more. Ensure that you're being honest with your teammates about how you're tracking and keep them updated with important milestones, be that training or fundraising. This is especially important when your team might not be all in the same place in New Zealand. So yeah, communicate. Okay. Our top training tips. Now, these are a few that we've pulled from our website, but there's plenty more. So don't forget to head to our training hub on our website. The link is in the description of this video to read the rest of them. Getting familiar. So we recommend that you train on terrain that reflects what you're going to encounter at Oxfam Trailwalker. Try some walks through the bush and don't forget to train on hilly terrain. It's also really important that you try out a few night walks. Just 1 or 2 will do the job. It can be a real shock to the system walking through the night for the first time, so definitely give that a go before the event. The 10% rule. So from 1 week to the next, we don't recommend that you increase your total distance or the intensity of the walks that you're doing by more than 10%. A big increase in the distance or the level of intensity really increases your chances of injury, which obviously is going to hinder your training. Cross-training. Cross-training might not be a popular one for most people, but it is really important. It's important to do stretching, weight training, whatever it is, to build that muscle up. Especially for beginners, you're going to want to build that strength and endurance for the walk. Training with your gear. So make sure that your shoes are well worn in before getting to the event. I can't tell you how many people wear a brand new pair of shoes on the trail and are covered in blisters by the end of it. This also ensures that you can work out what works best for you in terms of shoes. Not everyone is going to have the same preference for shoes. So wear them in and wear them on your walks. You should also be training with everything in your backpack that you plan on having on the trail at the event. This is to get used to the weight of the pack, which can be a real shock to the system if you've not done that before. Keeping a training diary. So log the distances that you're walking and the terrain and the time. This will really help you figure out what training works best for you and will also provide really good estimates for your support crew for when you are going to be approaching each checkpoint. And finally, this is a reminder that Trailwalker is not a race. Unless you're gunning for your personal best or you're maybe going to run the event, Trailwalker is not a race. The point is to work together, start together, and finish together. Rushing this event can lead to injuries like dehydration or blisters, which you really want to avoid if possible. Mental and physical well-being. We know that Trailwalker is a really physical event, but it's also mental. We recommend practicing training your mind on your training walks. So you're out on the trail for a really long time and you're bound to get a little bit bored at times. So think of ways that you and your team can keep yourselves entertained. This can be the obvious tactics like listening to music, playing I Spy, or just chatting away with your teammates. But also try and get creative. We are currently developing a Oxfam Trailwalker bingo, so that will be available on our website soon. Or you can try playing charades on the trail or have a worst dad joke competition, which is my personal favorite. You also don't have to be spending all the hours on the trail talking or being on with your teammates. Take some time out to just be solo and tune out everyone else for a while, whether that's listening to music, an audiobook, or just listening to the sounds of the nature around you. Looking out for your teammates is going to be really important too. It's not just a team event on the actual weekend, but also during your training walks. Watch out for your teammates and ask questions about how they're really going. Having something like a monthly catch-up scheduled or even a group chat where you're regularly checking in is really important. Tell each other honestly how you're feeling and how your walks are going. Honesty is really key because if someone is not feeling confident, you need to be able to adjust for them. And for yourself, ensure that you're taking all the right precautions to prevent injury. Bring extra socks on the trail, a first aid kit, and a water bottle. St. John's are our first aid provider at the event, and every year we have a debrief with them at the end to see what the biggest injury or issue was out on the trail. And quite often that is dehydration. So we really recommend that you think about how you're going to keep yourself hydrated. Our line, electrolyte drinks, are a wonderful option for replenishing your energy when you're training and at the event. And they're actually our hydration partner. So they'll be providing their electrolyte drink at every checkpoint for you. And finally, don't push yourself, especially if you're injured. This one's really important. If something hurts, stop walking. Don't push through it. Whilst it's important to push through fatigue and build up that mental strength and that physical strength, if something is really hurting and it's bothering you, it's really important to stop and get it checked out. And it might even need to be checked out by a physio or a doctor. This goes also for your mind. You will have harder days than others, so try not to let this get you down. Talk to your teammates and take a break if needed. Progress isn't always linear, so stay the course and you'll get there in the end. training resources. We have some really excellent new training resources available on our website for you. So by now, I would really hope that you would have dived into your preparation guide. This really is the place to start. It's got training advice, it's got the key milestones you should be hitting, and much more. So if you haven't already, check that out. And on our training hub, we've got our training log. So just before I mentioned keeping a training diary of your walks, we have an Oxfam one that you can easily download and fill in your training journey. So that's really cool. And finally, we've worked with Bivouac Outdoor to put together an excellent gear guide. This gear guide, we have it every year. It's got recommendations and tips, including our compulsory gear list, which you must have a look at, as well as some really awesome recommendations for brands that will do you well on the event. So check that out. All the links for those will be in the description of this video. And get connected. We have a wonderful community of past trail walkers, current trail walkers, and our legends. So join our Facebook group. They're all on there, and you can share advice, have a chat, and be inspired by previous trail walkers' experiences. We also really recommend that you follow our socials, that's Instagram and Facebook, as we will be posting really key updates, tips and advice, as well as maybe a competition or two that you might want to get involved in. All right, so that's it from me. I'm now going to pass the baton to the wonderful Coach Maree from Go Run Girls. She knows everything about training for long distance runs and walks, so we're really, really lucky to have her today to spread her knowledge and passion for events like Trailwalker. So, Coach Maree, take it away.
Hello, kia ora everyone. So yes, I have been lucky enough to work together, partner with Oxfam Trailwalker for the last 3 years. I have done 2 of the 100K and one 50K last year in Taranaki, and it was just incredible, especially after COVID, to actually have an event happen. I did 100K with my team when we were going through COVID, so that was such a tough challenge trying to loop my local park to get to 100K. But yeah, really excited that you're going on this journey, because it truly is a life-changing experience, not only for someone else, for the charity, but for yourself. So in this little time I've got, I want to talk about the important things that I've seen over the 3 years, and what I think is really important. Number one would have to be mindset. So I wanted to touch on this because you could have the strongest body, you could have done all of the training, but it's not necessarily going to get you to the start line at Taranaki. So we want to work on the mindset, and that is done through consistency in your training. So just like Sam mentioned about the plan that you need to be ticking off to physically get ready, it's about the mindset as well, and making sure that we practice little mindset training sessions along the way. So we've got it up here when we're at that start line. So training your mindset means that you can, you've got this toolbox within your brain that you can use when times get tough. You know, we're going into summer, so your training over summer is going to be hot. It's going to be, you'll probably have your peak walks in that time. And it's just going to get a little bit tough. So having a strong mindset and having all these tools means that you can pull them out and use them to ensure that you get the training done. So I've written down some little tips for you that I find really helpful. And the first one, it may sound fluffy, but it is about your why. So get a clear view, know your why you're doing Oxfam Trailwalker. And that may be that you're doing it for the charity, and that's great. You've got your team, it's a very loving thing that you're doing. And so it could be that you're doing it for goodwill, the charity. That's fantastic. Have that as your top why. Or it might be that you've decided that you want to do something healthy for your lifestyle, because training for Oxfam, it's around about 6 months. until the event. So, you're creating a healthy lifestyle for yourself if you take up this challenge. So that could be your why, or it could be a deep personal reason that you have got going for you. I suggest that you find more than one why because we use them at different stages in our training. So just make sure you've got a big list, note them down, and have them on hand for you over the next 6 months. I want you to have that list. I want you to have it ready before you even start training. So that is my first tip. Find your whys. The second thing is it's not good just having the list. We have to put it into action. So when you go out for your training sessions or even, your strength sessions, if that's new for you, have your whys set up in your brain or on the piece of paper for when things get hard. Those days when you don't want to go out for your training session, it's raining, it's too hot, all of these challenges and excuses are going to come up. And if you've got a strong mindset and you've got those tools to just draw from, then that can be such a benefit to actually completing your training session. Super important that you use them in those longer walk sessions when you may be going into unknown territory. So say you've got a long walk and that's around 2 hours, and maybe that's the longest time you've spent out there walking. We need to have those tools. Just like your hydration and your nutrition and your gear, get this loaded up with ideas and mindset tips first to help out. And the third one, visualization. So there's something to be said for our imaginations and for us dreaming about when we get to that start line in Taranaki. From being personally on 3 start lines, maybe not the COVID one, but the other 2, it was like magic. You've got the MC going, you've got the music in the background, you're all amped and excited and nervous. Your team is there. You've done all of your fundraising. You've had that wild journey leading up to this point. Just visualize yourself being in the moment, and that can really help you get out the door for the training that you've got to be doing. Okay, so tap into that and really dream and imagine of being at that start line. And even at the finish line, that's good too. So those are really my mindset tips. And then I wanted to cover a little bit on, actual, because I'm a coach and I've done the event, training tips that will help you. So Sam's covered a few of them, but this is from my point of view and what I see is important. So obviously getting a plan, they've got heaps of resources on the website, so go and check them out. So what a plan does for us is it breaks down your training. So at the moment, it might be looking a bit overwhelming for you. Even doing the new 25 distance, it can all seem a bit much at the moment. So what a plan will do is break it down into achievable size pieces, but ensuring that you get the time out on your legs that you need. So by the time you stand at that start line, you're ready to go and you're the strongest that you have been. That's our goal. So get a plan, print it out, whatever you need to do, stick it up around the house where you can see it, and that's your accountability. And yeah, just make sure that we set that stone first. So you've got your mindset tips in here, your whys, and then you print out your plan and get it going. Also, a plan will give you recovery. So that's a really important part of what we're doing, is to try and avoid injury and just to be able to have a plan that works with life, because life's busy, right? You've got jobs and commitments and that. We need to make sure that you are taking time out and recovering. That's physically and mentally. The next tip is around accountability. Okay, so that's a huge thing and can really help you on your journey. So whether that is asking one of your team members to check in on you every week, you can do the same thing. Whether it's getting a friend involved, get your family involved. The more eyes on you, the more likely you are to actually get some of this training done. I find a really good strategy for me personally is I put it out there to the world. So that might be on my Facebook page and helps with raising funds, but also, you know, people are expecting you to do the event. Once you put it out there, they're like, Maree's doing Oxfam 50. She's put it out there. I'm going to check up on her. I'm going to watch her updates with her training, that kind of thing. So get accountable to someone or something. The next tip is around shoes. So I had a lot of questions about this last year, and you can use your hiking shoes, or I saw a lot of trail shoes out there this year. Trail running shoes, what I mean. So anything with a bit of grip on them, because the terrain will be varied along the way. You'll get a bit of everything, I'm sure. But you really want some grip on the trail bits and the rocks and stones, and your feet are going to probably get wet and that kind of thing. So a more sturdy shoe that will help you with that will be great. But like anything, please do practice in the shoes that you intend to do the event in. It's no use going, you know, training in some road shoes and then going out there and trying to do the event in trail, because your feet aren't used to that. They're two very different shoes. So train away. Make sure you practice all your event day habits in your training. Teams. So I love going out there and seeing all the teams out there and the dynamics and how people choose to keep their team motivated, and, you know, really get creative with this. I suggest that you plan, like Sam said, plan Zooms with your team. Do like one each month, especially if you're not in the same city area. In these Zooms, I really want you to think about your strengths and your weaknesses. Okay, so you might not have an actual in-person training session with your team, and that's fine. But what I've seen over the years and what I've learned myself is that you need to know how each of your team members handle pain, fatigue, when they're happy, when they're energized, what are they good at, what lifts them up when they're down, all of those things. It's really important because it can get extremely tough out there, and you're in a team, you're in it together. So how are you going to lift up your teammates when it gets tough? So I find that if you set aside a Zoom for this, great idea, and share openly. You know, when I find it hard, I go very quiet and silent, and I would want a team member to notice that and to go, okay, what will we do for Maree? Okay, we'll put on some music. Also, just, yeah, like Sam mentioned, come up with fun costumes, music, give people jobs. So that might be in charge of the quiz, the music, reminders to drink, reminders to eat. Someone was in charge of the map reading on our team. So no one wants to take that job, by the way. But yeah, just give people roles as well. Get involved. This is a team event. It's what it's all about. Okay, sorry, I'm probably up for my time, but sickness and injury, again, any of that that's happening during your training, please do pay attention. Niggles, anything that goes on for longer than kind of a week, then go and see your professional, your doctor, whoever it is, physio, and get it checked out, because if the longer you put it off, the longer it's going to set your training back, and we don't want that. So be smart about injuries that come up. Miss training sessions, that's okay. Don't feel like you have to tick everything off. It's not about that. It's about recovering properly and then coming back into it. Last thing I want to cover is just train, just put everything into practice, give things a go, trial new food, trial hydration and electrolyte options. You want to be doing that in training. You don't want to leave it to the last minute. So yeah, I really hope all of this has helped. And I think 3 years of me personally coaching and seeing, being part of the events has given me, nailed down to the advice that I've given you today. But take care and enjoy, everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maree. That was, yeah, some really, really informative information, and your insight, having experienced those 3 trail walkers, is really valuable. So can't thank you enough for joining us. Right. Next up, we are going to hear from Leon from Bivouac Outdoor, and he's going to give you some really awesome information around gear and even touch on nutrition, I believe. So, Leon, take it away.
Thank you, Samantha. And first off, I just want to say kia ora, everyone, and how excited we are as a business to be once again associated with Oxfam Trailwalker. This is the 14th year that we're with this organization, so very excited for us. Like Samantha said, I'm just going to talk through some of the equipment and gear that we would recommend for people participating in the event, and I'll touch briefly on a bit of nutrition as well. I'm going to start from the ground up. So I'm going to start with socks first, because I think having decent socks is super important. You want to make sure that the socks that you're using are suitable for the activity. So we recommend something that's not cotton, preferably something that's wool or a synthetic combination of wool and synthetic. That's going to be better with moisture management, heat management, because those two things are the big things that sort of cause blisters. If you can prevent that from happening, you can definitely, you're a step ahead of the game. Some good options for us is brands like Icebreaker. There's brands like Lorpen and Thorlo that are designed specifically for the activity that you guys will be participating in. And so it's important to make sure that you've got some good socks. Also, make sure that they've got plenty of cushioning in them, especially around the toes and the heels, where you're generally going to have more impact. That's where you want that extra bit of protection, and something that's got a good arch support as well. That's going to help reduce the fatigue in your feet. I think Samantha touched on this earlier, but definitely have some spare socks with you on the day. You're going to want to change them out during the event. Your feet are going to get sweaty. It's unavoidable. And having on some fresh socks is just going to make a big difference with that moisture management during your event. And if you get the opportunity somewhere along the line where you meet up with your support crew, take the time to maybe just give your feet a bit of a clean, get that dirt and grit off them, give them a wash, give them a good proper dry, and get some fresh socks on them so you can carry on for the rest of the event. If you do notice that there is some blisters forming or you feel like you're getting hot spots, a really good product that we stock is called hiker's wool that will help prevent that. So again, it's just it's a wool-based product that you can wrap around the afflicted areas, and what it does, it just stops that heat coming through onto the skin, and it just helps the moisture management around that area as well, and it can prevent blisters. And even if you know you're prone to blisters in some areas, I would say be preventive. Start using it from the beginning. Don't wait for the problem to arise later on. So yeah, good socks is definitely the foundation of happy feet. And the next one, I'm going to talk a little bit about footwear. Maree touched on this a little bit. There's different options, whether you want to go for a trail running shoe style footwear, or if you want to go more into a hiking style footwear. It depends on your personal needs. And the most important thing about choosing your footwear is the comfort for you personally. We all are unique in our feet and how we use them. And we all have different shaped feet. And so it's important to make sure that you don't just go with what the best people say is the best shoe for them. It's very important more to go what works for you personally. And that's why when you come in store, we always take the time to measure people's feet, look at their feet, have a good discussion about what they've used in the past and what they've experienced, and then direct them to something that is suitable for them. Things you can look out for if you're going for the trainer style, trail runner style, which beneficial of them, they're generally lighter weight. They will dry quicker if they do get wet. And the it's just when they're lighter, it means your feet aren't going to work as hard. When you go for more for like a mid-style boot, it means it gives you a little bit more ankle support and a little bit more ankle stability, but it also will reduce any debris getting into the shoe. So that could be helpful as well when you're going across the gritty areas, rocky areas, muddy sections. That can be beneficial to have that mid. But again, it's very much up to personal preference of what you're used to and what you've used in the past when you're coming to select your footwear. You are going to be training for a while. It's a 6 month journey from here on out. The likelihood is you're going to use more than one pair of shoes during that period. So do keep that in mind as well, that you might want to invest in a couple of pairs of shoes that you can sort of swap in and out with and train with them. Like Samantha and Maree was saying, it's all about training and utilizing that gear from the start so that it's nothing new when you get to the race day or the event day, and that your feet are used to them already. Some of the brands we do are Innovate, Scarpa, and Solomon. And then recently we've also started using stocking a brand called Ultra Footwear, which is very popular with long distance walkers. So yeah, there is a selection for everyone that can come in store and come have a look. Um, then I want to talk a little bit about walking poles. Um, so walking poles is, and you can see in a lot of the images that's been used today, everyone almost uses walking poles for these longer distances. The reason behind it is it's just, I always say, it takes you from being two-wheel drive into four-wheel drive. You are just way more upright when you're using walking poles. So you end up using more of your skeletal rather than your muscular system, which means you are going to stay fresher for longer. You are going to be more efficient when you're walking. And especially in the later parts of the race, you'll definitely notice when you're using walking poles, it makes a big difference. It gets you moving a bit more as well, so it helps with your circulation, and it stops you getting a little bit more fatigued as well. Now, there's different options and different price ranges. Some of them are telescopic, so they tend to be a little bit bigger. They don't pack up quite as small. And then you get the trifold poles as well, which tend to pack up smaller. They tend to be slightly lighter weight. Yeah, and so the brands we do are Compodel and Black Diamond. And within those ranges, there is a selection for everyone, for beginners, price conscious people to the more experienced people as well. But yeah, I can't recommend walking poles enough. They definitely are a game changer. And if you've never used them before, again, make sure you start using them from the get-go when you're training, because it's going to get you used to moving with them and being efficient with them as well. Cool. Next, I just want to talk a little bit about layering systems. The clothing that we're going to use during the event and during your training is really important. When we talk about layering, it's taking that concept of having lots of individual pieces that you can utilize by themselves, but also then utilize as a system to help regulate heat, regulate moisture, and keep you comfortable for longer. The first layer that you always use is, or we call it the base layer, and that's your next to skin system. Ideally, what you want this to do is you want it to wick away the moisture from your skin, allow that moisture to sit on the face of the fabric, and then allow it to dry out quickly. Because the last thing you want to do is when you stop and you're all wet and cold, and that cold, wet fabric sits next to your skin, it's going to rob you of heat and it's going to drain you of energy real quickly. So having a real efficient base layer is super important. Not only is it going to manage the moisture, but it's also going to help regulate your body temperature. So you don't want to overheat. You don't want to have something next to your skin that's too thick, because then it's going to overheat. And again, you're going to be uncomfortable. And similarly, you don't want it to cool you down too quickly. Some options that we do in fabrics is wool or either just synthetic ones. And they both have pros and cons. Generally, wool is more comfortable next to skin. Uh, it's just nicer to wear. It tends to get a little less smelly if you use it for long periods of time, just because of the way the fabric deals with bacteria. But it can also hold more water on the fabric, so sometimes it takes longer to dry out. So then a synthetic option is sometimes better in that case, because it will move the moisture away, but it will dry a lot quicker as well. So again, that's a little bit about personal understanding of your own body and what things are going to be working best for you is what's going to guide you into the options that you can choose. Some of our brands like Earth, Sea, Sky do really good Polartec moisture wicking layers. Outdoor Research has got some really nice layers for sun protection as well, because it might be warm and sunny and you just want something to cover yourself next to skin so you don't get sunburn. And then again, our wool options and icebreaker is really good as well. for all those who want a bit more of a merino wool base layer. Next up is going to be your mid layer. So that's the garment you're going to be wearing on top of your base layer. And there is a lot of options and a lot of variations within this sort of class of clothing. And again, what you want to be thinking about is how it's going to work with the base layer in dealing with that moisture management and that temperature management as well. And depending on the conditions you'll be facing during your training and during the event, it's going to dictate how thick or how thin mid layer you want to use. Again, it's by thinking about the different styles of fabrics, like synthetics, like wool. They all have their pros and cons. And again, it's about coming into the store, talking to us about what your needs are, and we can definitely help you to make a decision on what's going to be more beneficial on the for yourself and to be using during your training and during the event. And keeping in mind as well, you are going to have to carry these things with you. So keeping it lightweight is also very important. You don't want to be carrying your big old safety jacket and it weighs about 2 kilograms. You want to make sure it's nice and lightweight and suitable for the day as well and during your training. Something that you can maybe consider is if you want a warmer insulated layer, you can give that to your support crew. And then when you do come to stopping and sitting down and doing that food care management or having something to eat, then you can throw that over all your gear and keep yourself nice and warm and insulated when you've stopped. But that same system will then help allow you still to manage the moisture and manage your heat transition as well. And then lastly, on the layering system, I'm just going to talk about your outer shell. Now, it's part of your compulsory gear to have a seam seal jacket. And what a seam seal jacket is, it's just basically, it's a waterproof garment that stops you from getting wet. And so in order for it to be 100% waterproof, it needs to be seam sealed. This layer is also going to protect you against the wind. So therefore, it's also going to be partly insulating because the wind chill is a big factor, especially in open and exposed areas. The temperature can drop dramatically when the wind does pick up. So having a suitable windproof, waterproof shell is paramount. It is probably your most important layer that you can utilize because it's going to keep you safe and keep you protected during the event. With waterproof jackets, it's also thinking about the breathability of them. Um, Waterproof jackets have a special membrane in them that allows moisture vapor to escape out of the fabric, but it stops moisture droplets to penetrate through. And depending on the different fabrics, they also have different breathability levels on them. And for someone who's doing an event where they're going to be relatively active for long periods of time, you are going to be generating a lot of moisture, you are going to be generating a lot of heat. So it's important that you do choose a jacket that can handle those conditions because you can get as wet from the inside from your own body moisture as from the outside as well if the jacket doesn't breathe and work correctly with your other layering systems. So that's definitely something to take in consideration. Fit is probably another thing that you want to think about as well. Like you might be wanting to just put that jacket on and over your backpack or your race vest that you've got. So sometimes it's worth sizing them a little bit bigger to accommodate for that as well, because you don't want to be stripping off your jacket and then putting on your race back on and back and forth, because sometimes you will be layering on and off. So when you come in, try and size it with your pack that you will be using during the event. And that way you'll get a better fit for it as well. Again, we have got some really good options in our brands like Outdoor Research and Innovate. And there's plenty of options for everyone and every category as well. And that's kind of the last part of the layering system. It's all got to work together and it's all got to sort of work in harmony. So it's definitely worth trying them out while you're training, figuring out what works best for you, because we all regulate temperature differently. We all operate in a different conditions. One set of rules doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. So I do urge you to, when you come in, come talk to our staff, tell them about how your experiences have been when you're training in the past, and we can get you into the correct garments that's going to work best for you when you're doing the event and also your training. Lastly, I want to just talk about packing smart. and what sort of backpacks or vests you can use for the event. Most people these days tend to use what they call like a running vest. You do get really lightweight backpacks because fast packing is a very popular thing these days. The reason we tend to recommend running vests is just the way they fit you as well. They tend to have more pockets in the front, so you can carry hydro flasks, like lightweight collapsible flasks to carry your water and your electrolytes in. They've got little access pockets for all your energy gels, your phone for when you want to take a selfie with your teammates along the way. And they also sit a bit more comfortably on your body. They do tend to hug you a little bit more, so you get less movement in the pack, which also means you will get less chafing, less irritation, and they just handle moisture a lot better as well. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought for a second there. Some of the options we have is Osprey, there's Innovate, Black Diamond, Camelback. There's lots and lots of options out there today for anyone to come and have and try and look at them. And sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming, but that's why we've got lots of knowledgeable staff to help you out with making those decisions, what's going to be working best for you. But the key factor is when it comes to choosing all of your equipment, is having weight as a consideration. The lighter you're going to be, the less effort it's going to take for you to carry all of your gear, and the more efficient you're going to be as well. Which means you're going to be enjoying the event for longer periods of time, and you'll have more energy when it comes to really those last kind of few hours in it where you're going to have to dig deep to get to the finishing line. It's going to make your life a lot easier. And talking about energy, I'm just going to touch a little bit on nutrition. Now, nutrition is super important. It's probably going to be the biggest sort of make or break part in your training and during the event as well, because if you can't fuel yourself efficiently, you won't have the energy to continue on, and everything is just going to exacerbate and get harder and harder. So do make sure that you have a good nutrition plan from the get-go. When you start training, incorporate that nutrition plan and work on it. Again, not all of us have got iron stomachs, so we can't all just eat goo gels and energy gels all the time. You're going to have to sort of play around with options. But I do recommend the condensed calories, like the energy gels and the power bars, as part of your nutrition plan. It just means you can carry less weight. You get a real good shot of energy for a long duration. It means you can keep fueling regularly along the way. And you don't have to sit down and have a big meal, and then you're going to feel all sort of like overfilled and tired and lethargic. So do make sure that you utilize the high calorie energy options that you have out there. For us in store, we have goo gels. We're going to get pure energy in store soon as well. We've got a complete nutrition from Radix Nutrition as well, as part of supplementary food that you can use during training and preparation for the event as well. So there's a lot of food options, but as with everything else that we talked about, gear and training, it's super, super important to make sure that you're doing this from the start when you're planning your event and doing your event, so that when you come to race day, you know what to expect. You're not going to surprise your body with different food and different gear and different shoes. It's all about having that preparation, and so you are going to be comfortable and also know what to expect when you get to the event as well and during the event. I think that's pretty much everything from me. The last thing I just want to mention is that when you do come see us in store, and please do come see us in store, we've got a lot of knowledgeable staff who are very happy to help and always excited to help people, especially on the Oxfam Trailwalk, because it's such a amazing event, and we love to hear everyone's stories when it comes to their training and their experiences. But when you do come in store, please use that $20 voucher that you will get from signing up for the Oxfam. 15% of you get 15% off store of anything that you buy off the retail price, and then 10% of your overall spend also goes towards your fundraising as well. So it's definitely worth coming seeing us, and and we are very happy to help you guys make a decision on your gear and just be along with you for the journey, from training all the way to the finish line. We want to wish you all the best of luck, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leon. That was an incredible amount of information on gear and training with that gear. So I know I learned a lot. I'm sure a lot of people did. And yeah, again, don't forget that you get that 15% off and the 10% back to your fundraising page. So it's a great win-win. Get your gear and start contributing to that those donations. So thanks again, Leon. All right, so before we wrap up, I just want to say a really quick thank you to our partners, New Plymouth District Council, Venture Taranaki, Outwear, Novotel, InCafe, Wireless Nation, Tapuai, Springwater, and of course, Coach Maree from Go Run Girls and Leon from Bivouac Outdoor. That concludes our first info session for Oxfam Trailwalker 2024. We hope you all have enjoyed the session, and we're really wishing you the best of your luck on your training journey. So please don't hesitate to reach out. If you have any questions, you can phone us on 0800 600 700 or email us at info@oxfamtrailwalker.org.nz. Well, we will see you on the trail and in our next info session. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.